for another episode of Financial First Aid. Today, I have the pleasure and honor of having Sharon Lechter, uh, not only a wonderful entrepreneur, but a wonderful person as well. As an entrepreneur, international speaker, best-selling author, mentor, philanthropist, Sharon has been licensed as a CPA for 35 years and a chartered global management accountant. Sharon Lechter is the premier expert on financial literacy and entrepreneurial success. A lifelong education advocate, in 1989, Sharon joined forces with the inventor of the first electronic talking book and helped him expand the electronic book industry to a multi-million-dollar international market. In 1997, Sharon co-authored the international bestseller Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and has released 14 other books in the Rich Dad series. Over 10 years as the co-founder and CEO, she built the empire into the world's leading personal finance brand. In 2008, she was asked by the Napoleon Hill Foundation to help re-energize the powerful teachings of Napoleon Hill just as the international economy was faltering. Sharon has released 3 best-selling books in cooperation with the foundation, including Think and Grow Rich, 3 Feet from Gold, Outwitting the Devil, and her latest project, Think and Grow Rich for Women, released in June 2014. She's also featured in the 2017 movie Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy, and has released the book Save Wisely, Spend Happily in cooperation with the American Institute of CPAs. Sharon is a highly sought after mentor and has worked with major brands like Disney, Time Warner, and served two US presidents as an advisor on the topic of financial literacy. As CEO of Pay Your Family First, she has dedicated her entrepreneurial efforts to the creation and distribution of financial education books, games, curriculums, and other experiential learning projects. Everything about Sharon's career centers around impacting others to improve their financial IQ, access untapped potential personally and in business, and create their own legacy. But everything changed in 2012 when Sharon's son unexpectedly died. All of Sharon's successes seemed to fade into the background. She kept working, but on autopilot. She stopped playing at the level she always had and just started coasting. That is until now. Now she's back playing big again, and she wants you to as well with the Play Big movement. It's time to shed limitations that have stopped you in the past, and it's time to play big, master your money and time, and create maximum impact. I think that's everything. I hope I didn't miss anything. There's so much to say about you. Just
It just shows how old I am, Vera.
just so the audience knows, I have had the pleasure of coaching with you for the past 2 months, 2.5 months it's been, and it's been an absolute great learning experience. So hopefully, some other people may decide that they want to, engage you in you and your husband, I should say, in doing some mentoring and some coaching with you guys. You've been great. I've really impacted how I've managed and will continue and further manage my businesses, I should say. So welcome to the podcast once again. What's the primary focus of your company? I think I kind of already said that, but you've got a couple of companies. So let's just kind of go one piece at a time and maybe peel back the onion on each one of them, please.
Sure. Well, as you said, I have several companies, but my primary focus in everything I do is to provide tools and mentorship and opportunities for people to create, elevate their financial well-being, whether it be personal through personal finance or through entrepreneurship education, helping them buy, build, and create assets that generate income for them.
And I know one of your sayings is assets are sexy.
I
Can
want
you
people to wake up, not chasing money. Chase, to invest your time in buying, building, creating assets that create income because you're financially free when the income from your assets exceed your monthly expenses. So It's not what you do for your paycheck, it's what you do with your paycheck that determines your future.
Oh, wow, that's great. What motivated you to begin your journey of entrepreneurship?
Well, I grew up in a very entrepreneurial home. I didn't realize that I was different from a lot of people because we lived between my mom's beauty shop, my dad's used car lot. We had rental properties. My dad had orange groves. And it wasn't until I got out into the real world that I realized a lot of people, and I was actually jealous of them. Their parents were CEOs, or military officers. And I thought, wow, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. And so I started my career. That's when I went and got my accounting degree and was one of the very first women in public accounting. And about the ripe old age of 25, I said, this is crazy. I'm working crazy hours, and realized that my parents looked a whole lot smarter. So there's hope for all of us whose kids don't think we're so smart. When they get a little older, they start appreciating it. And that's when I left public accounting. I started my entrepreneurial career, and I never looked back. But my dedication to financial literacy actually started in 1992. My oldest son had gone off to college in September, came home in December in credit card debt. He'd been greeted by these tables that said free pizza, free money, free t-shirt, free money. So he had a really good time his first semester in college until the bills started rolling in. And he came home in December and asked us to bail him out. And we said no. And that was really when I dedicated the rest of my career to financial education, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship education. And I'm as passionate about it today as I was then. So I found my definiteness of purpose in December of 92.
That's great. And that was practicing some, what do they call it? Hard love for, with
Yes.
your son. But I
Tough
think,
love. Yep. Tough love.
yeah, but that's good though. That's how we all learn. Um, so when, things kind of got tough for you and maybe you got discouraged, what was the thing that kind of kept you moving forward on that journey?
Well, I teach the personal success equation, which is personalsuccessequation.com if you want a guide to it. And that's really combining your passion and your talent. And most of us stop there thinking we have to do everything on our own. And I say, it's not, that's just the beginning. That's you chasing money, right? You combine your passion and your talent, you find the right associations, surrounding yourself with the right people, having the right mentor, and then taking the right action. And then above all, having faith and confidence in yourself.
Right.
And what happens when people get discouraged, they usually don't have the right people around them,
Yes.
and they don't have the self-confidence they need.
Right.
Because we all have bad days, but when you have a bad day, the people around you will lift you up.
Right.
And so when you get discouraged, make sure you got the right people on your team, you got the right mentor that can help push you in the direction that you need to go.
Okay. Okay, great. Um, when, you started out doing this and as you continued to do it, did you think in terms of you maybe being, I think you kind of alluded to it in the beginning when you said, when I first started out, I thought I wanted to become this accountant and have a 9-to-5 type job. And then you realized maybe that's not such a good idea. As you were going through that transition when you first started, did you ever feel kind of like a round peg in a square hole and maybe you just didn't quite fit?
Constantly. I think that's one of the things about an entrepreneur is you're constantly wanting to solve problems and serve a need. So you kind of stand outside the crowd. And that's when I made the decision to leave public accounting, it was because I had this great offer to go with a client into a company that he was buying out of bankruptcy. And I did the old yellow legal pad, pros and cons. And
Right.
it didn't help me a bit. I could argue both sides, but my hand kind of took off across the top of the page and wrote, why not? And that's really my mantra today, as well as it was when I was 25. Why not do something different?
Mm-hmm.
Why not take the path less traveled? Why not do something that other people are not doing? Why not solve a problem, serve a need? And when you have that why not philosophy, you tend to be a pioneer
Mm-hmm.
and not always follow the path of least resistance. You're trying to carve your own path.
Exactly, right. So, what kind of kept you when you wrote your first book? What kind of kept you motivated to continuing to write more and more?
Well, the same thing that motivates me today. I grew up with a father who asked me each night, have you added value to someone's life today? And he's been gone 15 years, but I still ask myself that each night. And the thing that motivates me when I wake up in the morning, I don't think about me. I think about the problem I solve, the need I serve. I think about the people that can still benefit from understanding the power of money. And I know things, and I have books and products that can help them create a better future. And so that's what motivates me to get up every morning.
Hmm. And those books that you've written over what, it's 14 books, I think it is. So what kind of gives you the ideas that you can continue to write these books? Because I know some of that is just from experience. Like as you experience new things, you say, oh, that could be an idea for a book, or that could lead to a better educating somebody. What are those things that kind of trigger, okay, I'm going to write another book?
Well, the one to my right here is Exit Rich. That's my 26th book. So,
Wow.
yes, I have a lot of reasons to write books. But when we started at Rich Dad, when we did Rich Dad Poor Dad in 1997, we
Mhm.
didn't expect to do 15 books. We thought we were just one and done.
Right.
And then we decided, well, we do a trilogy: Rich Dad Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, Rich Dad Guide to Investing. And it just continued. So, over a 10-year relationship co-owning that company and being the CEO, we wrote 15 books together. And then when I left with the Napoleon Hill Foundation, I ended up doing 4 books with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And so it's like when I find a need and I
Mhm.
hear people asking enough questions, it's like, okay, let's write the book.
Okay.
And Exit Rich is kind of a culmination of everything I've taught, is how to build value in your business, how to own a business, not a job. Too many people think they own a business, but they can't, that, it's too dependent on them. So I
Mhm.
want them to find the way to create those systems to be able to build the value into that business so that they can take their successful business,
Mhm.
make it sustainable, scalable, and saleable.
Okay. Okay. Great. Yeah, that's great information. Um, for an entrepreneur, I mean, you've helped thousands. I don't know, probably tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. What's kind of the one piece of advice that you would give them? I think you kind of mentioned it just a minute ago by saying, you know, don't have the business solely dependent on you. How do you structure something like that?
Well, so as I describe in Exit Rich,
Mhm.
okay, you're going to go to exitrichbook.com/buy to get a advanced copy.
Oh,
It's
it's not
about
out
your,
yet. It's not out
yeah,
yet.
it talks about the 6 P's and the people, making sure you have the right people in your team, people who are strong where you're weak, having the right mentor. Then your product, what is it that you sell?
Mhm.
Is it, should you have additional renditions of that? The third one is your processes, those business systems that help create the stability of your business, and it makes your business scalable. And then the proprietary, what makes you unique? What's your competitive advantage? What's that intellectual property that you own? Let's identify it, protect it, and leverage. And then patrons, your database. So many people today get excited about their social media presence, but you need to invite them home to your database because that's tremendous value in your company. Many companies get sold only for their database. And
Okay.
so today, too many people aren't paying attention to that. Let's bring them home and nurture them. And
Mhm.
then your profits. And so that's, I take people through that journey, not only for your own company, but if you are looking to invest in a company, this
Mhm.
gives you a great due diligence checklist to look through. If you're looking at investing in somebody's company or buying a company, this gives you the opportunity to know what questions to ask.
Nice. So Exit Rich isn't out yet?
What's that?
The book Exit Rich is not out yet?
It's out June 22nd, but
Oh,
you can
great.
get the electronic copy today
Oh, great.
if you go to exitrichbook.com/buy. Exitrichbook.com/buy.
Okay.
We'll get you the electronic copy right away. And then when June comes, we'll mail the hard copy.
Okay, great, great, great. Um, I know you're a big proponent of mindset. What kind of mindset right now do you think people need to have coming out of the whole COVID-19 pandemic as an entrepreneur?
Like mindset is hugely important. And, a lot of people have been using the word pivot because of the pandemic. And I don't like that word, because if you know what you want, your definiteness of purpose, that doesn't change. And so you just need to recalibrate, readjust, and refire towards that. And um, imagine a sailor. Okay. Sailor wants to go to this island, right? But the wind shifts. So they have to adjust their sails. They
Right.
have to adjust and recalibrate and then continue going to their original destination. Same thing in today's world. If you have a passion, you have a business, you have a definiteness of purpose. Yeah, we might get knocked off course. This pandemic certainly changed a lot of things for a lot of people,
Mhm.
but you just recalibrate, readjust, and refire. And a lot of that is dedication and definiteness of purpose, which comes to mindset, reminding yourself what problem you solve, what need you serve, and that you are capable of getting there with the right team and the right mentor. And that helps you, when you have the right team and the right mentor, it helps your mindset stay focused and positive.
That's really good advice. That's really, really good advice. So on the personal side, how's this whole journey of entrepreneurship? How's that impacted your family?
Well, tremendously. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur almost, well, since before we started having children. My husband's
Okay.
an intellectual property attorney. We have multiple businesses that we own together. At one time or another, my children were all involved in my companies and my businesses, and they've all now branched off into their own areas of expertise, running their own things. So, entrepreneurship allows you to teach your kids about business and involve them in it. They can learn about it at an early age, and it's very important.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of how I got started as well. My dad had his own business and my mother helped him with that. So together they were, what they didn't call them power couples when I was growing up, but they were kind of like a power couple. And you and Michael certainly are a power couple. The attorney piece and the accountant piece, you can't beat that. So now, what would you maybe say where you are now as opposed to, where you were then? Hindsight is always 2020 vision. What do you think you may have done differently now, now that you've had these experiences based on where you're at now? What would you maybe have done differently?
Well, Vera, I get asked that question a lot, and I I usually answer it the same way, and that is, I wouldn't be who I am today if it weren't for the experiences I had before today.
Right.
So if I change something that happened to me, um, I'm not sure where I would be. And I'm pretty happy with my life, my family.
Good.
Obviously, if I could turn back the clock and not lose my son, that would be 2020. I would definitely do that. But, too many people look backwards, and when you're a business owner, it's like driving a car. You've got a giant windshield, lots of opportunity, lots of directions to go, and a little rear view mirror. And that's simply to learn from the past, not to be basically tied to the past. And so I don't really look back. I think it's something that we want to always look forward and learn from the past, but and so it doesn't repeat those problems. But let's focus on what's possible.
That's great advice. I think you're right. I think sometimes people get stuck in that past and they really struggle to move forward. And in being stuck in that, that place, they can't get out of where they're stuck at, unfortunately. So give me some advice for my listeners and tell them how they can accelerate their growth and maximize their finances like right now. What would you tell them to do?
Well, pay attention, figure out where you are. Just doing that, a lot of people have their head in the sand. Figure out where you are financially. Even if the picture is bleak, you're going to feel confidence in the fact that you've actually taken action.
Right.
And you cannot change circumstances unless you take action. We are all where we are because of the choices we made before today. So
Exactly.
if you want something different in your life, start making different choices. And certainly watching this podcast is the first step. And understand, seek that information. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And
Mhm.
pay attention to who you have around you. The first step is always to make sure you surround yourself with people who want you to succeed, not people who are looking at you trying to pull you back. So
Right.
that's the first step. the environment is so important. And then look at how you're spending your time. Are
Mhm.
you exchanging time for money, or are you investing time to buy, build, and create assets? Those two issues, your
Mhm.
environment and how you're spending your time or investing your time, can dramatically change the direction of your life.
That's great advice. I love that. I really do. Um, so tell me about some of your other companies besides the one that you primarily focus on for elevating.
Well, my financial education company is called Pay Your Family First, and that's where we do a lot of the programs really based out of that company. A
Mhm.
lot of the curriculum that I've developed is through that company.
Mhm.
I have another company called S2B that is my speaking and book company
Mhm.
for the S part of the quadrant, where I'm doing intellectual, it's my intellectual property company. And
Mhm.
then my husband and I own a ranch called cherrycreeklodge.com, and it is up in the Tonto National Forest. It's a guest ranch, so you can go to cherrycreeklodge.com and come spend the weekend as a cowboy or a cowgirl. It's totally off the grid, and it's just a little piece of heaven. We absolutely love it. And then we also have a real estate company where for our real estate investments. My husband has his legal company, and we have a publishing company, so probably a few others, but and we certainly, our real estate investment company is, is our passive income asset. So
Okay, that sounds great. And so that really is just that piece of information right there. That's an education for entrepreneurs to say, you know what, you have to have multiple streams of income. One isn't enough for you to depend on. Um, so the primary focus of my podcast is to educate, motivate, and inspire entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs. So what can we tell my audience to educate them? Number one.
well, focus on assets, not on income. Too many people focus on exchanging time for money. I want you to invest your time into buying, building, creating assets, because those assets become economic engines for you. There are a lot of people out there teaching finance. Nobody else is teaching the importance of assets. And I want you to hear that from me. My favorite word on earth, assets. Assets are sexy.
Yes,
So,
indeed. And then what would you tell them to motivate them?
well, look in the mirror. And are you happy with who you see? And if you're not, then say, I'm going to do something about it, because at the end of the day, you are fabulous. You're already an expert. Nobody's had your wins, nobody's had your issues, your mistakes, but you wouldn't be who you are if you hadn't done that. So you're an expert based on what you've lived. And we want to elevate you to becoming the authority. And I want to be here to support you doing that. But I want you to also look in the mirror and say, I am fabulous, because you are.
Okay, great. And then lastly, what would you say to inspire them?
Well, inspiration comes from within, motivate comes from without. So, motivate is me pushing at you to look in the mirror. Inspiration is for you to read something, to act on something and feel good about it. That self confidence comes from being inspired, it comes from within. And so, I challenge you to listen to what we've talked about during this podcast and internalize something that we've said and do it, because that's where the inspiration comes from. It's one thing to hear it, to be motivated. Inspiration is actually being inspired to take action. So I challenge you, do something today with what you've heard from this podcast.
Wow, that is great. I love it. Educate, motivate, inspire. I think you did all three of those things during this podcast. And lastly, let my audience know how they can reach out to you, Sharon.
Absolutely. Well, my email info at sharonlechter.com. I'd love for you to support me and buy the book. It's called Exit Rich. You can get it at exitrichbook.com/buy, BUY. There's all kinds of bonuses that come along with purchasing the book. If you get 10 copies, I send you a gift certificate to my ranch, cherrycreeklodge.com.
Wow.
But
Okay.
I'd love your support there. And then I'm sharonlechter.com. You can find information about my mentoring and about my programs there. I'm Sharon Lechter on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, the whole shebang, Facebook. So please connect with me anywhere and everywhere. And we're here to continue to support. And we also have our private Facebook group called the Play Big Movement with Sharon Lechter, as well as my podcast, the Play Big movement. So you can find me just about everywhere.
That's great. And I hope that's what they do after they listen to this podcast. I am so honored that you took the time to be on my podcast. You know, you're an international speaker, so you could have been anywhere besides spending this last 30 minutes with me. And so I'm not only humbled, I'm honored. I will definitely get this over to all of your media outlets so people can hear. And I once again thank you for coming on. And I'll have to check out your podcast because you know what, I haven't done that yet. So I'm definitely going to do that.
Super, super. Love it. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for all you're doing, Vera.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.